I'm Todd Sears, and I'm the founder of Out Leadership, which is a global LGBT business advisory. Out Leadership is the first global LGBT business organization to convene and connect senior LGBT leaders in business with the goal of connecting to do good business together, to develop and engage LGBT talent, and ultimately to drive LGBT equality forward. I would describe myself as an equality entrepreneur. Eliza Beyer, the CEO of GLSEN, which is the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network that focuses on LGBT youth in schools, called me that 6 or 7 years ago, and it stuck. And I think it's a good and apt descriptor because I am a social entrepreneur by nature. Whether I was a banker or an investment banker or a diversity leader, I've always focused on building. And all of the things that I've built in my career have been focused on LGBT equality. So when she called me an equality entrepreneur, it seemed to resonate and it stuck. So when I started Out Leadership, we had 6 organizations, 6 Wall Street banks. And that was because it was my background. And I originally called the organization Out on the Street. And I was able to convince the CEO of Deutsche Bank at the time to help me host this conversation to talk about business, talent, and equality. And the framework was that I wanted only senior business leaders, director level or higher business leaders, not HR professionals, not diversity professionals, because they get it. But if I could make business leaders get it and understand that LGBT inclusion is a business driver and it was a bottom line impact, then I think we would have something. And so Bank of America, Barclays, Citi, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley were our first original 6 firms. And I gave each of those firms 6 firms 20 slots for director level or higher business leaders for that original conversation. And we were 200% oversubscribed for that first conversation, actually not far from here downtown in New York City. And from there I grew it. So 6 years ago I launched it in London, 5 years ago in Hong Kong. We were the first LGBT summit ever in Asia. And then 2 years ago in Sao Paulo and in Sydney. We've now grown to almost 70 member companies. We've convened about 7,000 senior business leaders globally, as well as emerging leaders, senior LGBT women, board leadership, and over 320 CEOs. And the CEO piece is one of the things I'm the most proud of, because prior to Out Leadership, we'd never seen more than one CEO in the same place at the same time discussing LGBT issues. And now at every one of our summits around the world, of which there have been 27 so far, we have a CEO panel. We have a CEO luncheon, a CEO dinner. And this has now become something that is really a CEO-led and CEO-driven conversation. I would like my legacy to be that I was able to convene and create a conversation where none existed. So when I started Out Leadership, LGBT inclusion was never a business issue. CEOs weren't discussing it, and it was not something that was a global understanding in the business community. We've been able to now connect CEOs across 5 continents, help have LGBT be a conversation in places it never was, whether it was Davos, or Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Indonesia, all around the world. And the ability for us to enable that conversation and to create a space for that conversation, and then the impact that that's been able to have through quiet conversations with CEOs and business leaders and government leaders, I think is a true legacy, because that's something that continues. It's not about me, it's about the conversation, the connections we're able to create.